The prison was never truly silent, yet every night it pretended to be. Soft footsteps faded along distant corridors, metal doors sighed instead of slammed, and the low hum of old lights floated like a lullaby through the halls. Daniel Hart had learned to sleep inside that gentle imitation of peace. His cell was small but orderly. A narrow bed, a folded blanket, a shelf of worn books left behind by others who had come and gone. He kept everything neat, not because rules demanded it, but because order calmed his thoughts. Daniel had been there for 7 years. Outside his window, a square of sky changed colors slowly each evening. Tonight it was pale blue turning silver. He watched it carefully, as if memorizing freedom through color alone. He often replayed the same question before sleep: how does an innocent man end up forgotten? Yet the question no longer carried anger. Time had softened it into curiosity. Across the corridor, someone coughed. Somewhere farther away, a guard's radio murmured softly. Daniel closed his eyes and listened to these small sounds the way others listen to rain. He believed in routines. Morning tea. Afternoon reading. Evening reflection. Hope survived best inside routine. On his bedside lay a letter he had read many times. No return address. Only a simple sentence written neatly. Truth moves slowly. But it never stops. He did not know who sent it. Still, the words comforted him. They felt patient, like sleep approaching gently. Daniel lay down, folded his hands over his chest, and let the quiet settle around him. Another peaceful night inside walls that could hold his body, but never fully contain his thoughts. Every morning, Daniel woke before the bell. The prison stirred gradually, like a tired animal stretching awake. He enjoyed those early minutes when the world belonged to no one. At breakfast, he sat beside Mr. Alvarez, an older inmate who spoke little but listened deeply. Conversations with Alvarez required no effort. Silence between them felt complete rather than empty. "You sleep well?" Alvarez asked one morning. Daniel nodded. "Better than before." "Mind learns," Alvarez said gently. "Even here." Daniel smiled faintly. He had once resisted everything: the noise, the routine, the injustice. Resistance exhausted him. Acceptance, he discovered, did not mean surrender. It meant survival. After breakfast, Daniel worked in the prison library. It was the calmest place in the building. Dust floated in warm light, and books carried whispers of distant lives. He repaired torn pages carefully, as though healing small wounds. Reading had changed him. Stories reminded him that life moved in cycles. Hard chapters eventually turned. One afternoon, while sorting returns, he noticed a legal book placed incorrectly on the shelf. A folded paper slipped from its pages. It contained a newspaper clipping, an article about the case that had sent him here. The headline felt strange, like seeing a younger version of himself, but something was different. A witness name had been circled in blue ink. Daniel's heartbeat remained calm, yet curiosity awakened quietly inside him. Not hope, not yet, only awareness, like the first light before sunrise. He returned the paper carefully and continued working. Somewhere deep within, a slow change had begun. That evening, another letter arrived. The guard slid it through the bars without comment. Daniel thanked him softly and waited until night to open it. Letters deserved quiet attention. Inside was the same handwriting. "You were not forgotten." Someone is looking again. Daniel read the sentence twice. His breathing stayed steady, though warmth spread through his chest. For years, his case had rested untouched, buried beneath newer stories. He sat on his bed and listened to distant murmurs of the prison settling into sleep. Memories came gently, the courtroom, the confusion, the certainty that truth would quickly fix everything. He had been young then. Confident in fairness, time had taught patience instead. He wondered who wrote the letters. A lawyer? A journalist? A stranger moved by curiosity? The mystery felt oddly comforting. Whoever it was, they expected nothing from him. Outside, rain began tapping softly against the window. The sound reminded him of childhood evenings spent safe at home, listening to storms while his mother read nearby. Daniel closed his eyes and imagined that warmth again. For the first time in years, he allowed himself a small thought: maybe the story is not finished. The idea did not rush or overwhelm him. It rested quietly beside him, like a companion waiting until morning. Days passed peacefully, yet Daniel noticed subtle changes. Guards spoke his name more carefully. The librarian supervisor watched him with curiosity rather than routine indifference. One afternoon, a visitor request arrived. Daniel rarely received visitors. He walked calmly to the meeting room, hands relaxed, breathing slow. Behind the glass sat a young woman with tired eyes and kind posture. "My name is Clara," she said through the phone receiver. "I'm reviewing old cases for a legal innocence project." Her voice was gentle, almost apologetic. She explained that new evidence analysis methods had revealed inconsistencies in several past trials, including his. The circled witness from the newspaper clipping had recently withdrawn testimony in another case. Daniel listened quietly. He asked few questions. Years in prison had taught him that rushing hope could break it. Clara noticed his calmness. "Most people react differently," she said. "I've had time to practice patience," Daniel replied softly. She smiled. Before leaving, she said, "I can't promise anything. But I believe something was missed." Daniel returned to his cell feeling neither excitement nor fear. Only balance. That night, sleep came easily. The prison noises felt softer than ever, as if even the walls were listening. Investigations moved slowly. Weeks turned into months. Autumn light faded earlier each day, painting long shadows across Daniel's floor. He continued his routines, reading, helping others write letters, repairing books. Fellow inmates often sought his calm presence. "You act like you're already free," one man told him. Daniel considered this. "Freedom starts in how you spend time," he answered. Clara visited occasionally, bringing updates. Documents reviewed. Statements reconsidered. Old evidence reopened. Each visit ended with the same words: "We're getting closer." Daniel appreciated her honesty. She never exaggerated progress. At night, he imagined walking outside again, not dramatically, but simply. Feeling wind. Hearing ordinary street sounds. Buying bread from a quiet shop. Simple dreams were easier to trust. Winter arrived gently. Snow softened the prison yard, covering harsh lines beneath peaceful white. Even guards spoke more quietly during snowfall. Daniel watched flakes fall and felt gratitude for small beauty that reached him despite walls. Hope, he realized, did not need certainty. It only needed space to breathe. The day of the hearing arrived without ceremony. Daniel woke as usual, folded his blanket, and watched morning light appear. In court, everything felt strangely familiar yet distant, like revisiting a dream. Clara presented new findings calmly. The witness testimony had been unreliable. Evidence once considered decisive now appeared incomplete. Daniel listened more to tone than words. Voices carried sincerity he had not heard years ago. The judge requested further review, not freedom, not yet, but movement. As Daniel was escorted back, Clara said quietly, "This is good news." He nodded. "Thank you for not giving up." She replied, "You didn't either." Back in his cell, Daniel felt peaceful exhaustion. Progress itself was enough. That night, sleep came quickly, deep and steady. Spring arrived with warm air drifting through the corridors. One afternoon, a guard stopped at Daniel's cell earlier than usual. "Pack your things," he said gently. Daniel owned very little. A book, letters, and the mysterious notes that had guided him through years of waiting. In the office, officials spoke carefully, respectfully. His conviction had been overturned. The words felt unreal, yet calm spread through him instead of shock. Freedom approached quietly, just as hope had. When the outer gate opened, sunlight felt wider than memory. Air carried scents of grass and distant traffic. Clara stood nearby, smiling with relief. "You're free," she said. Daniel inhaled slowly, letting the moment settle rather than rush past. For a long time, he simply stood there, feeling the world move around him. Freedom was not loud. It was morning walks, warm tea, and choosing when to sleep. Daniel rented a small room overlooking a quiet street. Each evening, he watched people pass, ordinary lives continuing without drama. He kept his routines, reading, writing, helping Clara's organization review other cases. His experience became guidance for others still waiting. One evening, he finally learned who sent the letters. Clara admitted she had written them before meeting him, unsure whether they would help. "They did," Daniel said softly. "They gave time a direction." Night fell gently outside his window. No bars, no echoes, only distant city sounds blending into peaceful rhythm. Daniel lay down and listened. Sleep came easily, carrying gratitude instead of questions. His story had never been about prison alone. It was about patience, kindness, and the quiet strength of believing that truth, like morning light, eventually arrives. And as he drifted into rest, the world felt wide, calm, and wonderfully unfinished.